Hey boys, welcome back to the channel where we're going to be going through my pods, my super pods to look out for to start the season. I honestly, I was looking forward to doing this video. It almost slipped my mind. I I almost completely forgot about it. It was after the Vegas preview. I was like, oh wait, I was gonna do a pod. Like, I want to go through for my own sake. It's good to go through the ownerships and stuff. And it's not necessarily like you need to have some super pods to start, but if you can find a couple of guys that sort of slip through the cracks of being talked about, it can be handy. It can be handy to start the season. So yeah, I was waiting for after the trials, and I was gonna wait for like team lists and stuff, but obviously it slipped my mind originally that yes, Vegas locks out first. So as you can see in the countdown, only 2.5 days left before the Vegas game kicks off on Sunday. So let's go through. Obviously, pods/super pods. There's not a dry and fast rule of like what percentage, because obviously different positions will have a different tier, and obviously as the season progresses as well, like there's a lot of people that might start with a guy and they might stay in your team, but they wean out and they become more poddish. But obviously dummy halves, there's way less dummy halves to pick from, so they're going to have a higher percentage owned regardless, compared to like a center winger. So there's no hard and fast rule that I'm going to go with like under 5% or anything like that. But anyone that stands out, especially in the bigger positions that are like, yeah, around that under 5%, I think we'll talk more about. But dummy halves, I don't know. We'll have a quick look. I don't think it's even worth going through, but we'll have a quick squiz if there's anybody that jumps out here who is very under-owned. I mean, Sammy Verrills, 400k, no one owns him. It'll be interesting actually to see who's on the bench for the Titans, because obviously Kieran Foran is now out. He was going to be the 14, which I don't agree with, but Verrills he's probably going to play big minutes. I mean, the injuries and stuff have always been a concern for Verrills. What did he sort of average minutes-wise? Obviously, he didn't score that well last year, but he played... I mean, the minutes are all over the shop. A lot of reduced minute games, low scores, some decent scores. He strung a few back-to-back in the end, but nah, I wouldn't go there. But I mean, there's probably not going to be I don't know. I don't know who their 14 is going to be now. It'll be interesting to see. But I wouldn't go there. Anybody else? I mean, Tyson Smoothie obviously dropped out. The fact that Corey Pace has got the role. Brennan Hands is still only 1.5%. I'm a little surprised. Obviously, this could change a lot if he's the sole dummy half, clearly. So that's why it's a little bit tricky. Api Coruscant is very low percentage. He is suspended for round 1, which is tricky. He probably loses the goal kicking as well, so I wouldn't be that keen. Tommy Starling. I was a little keen on Starling. 2.6% owned. I do prefer to wait until the rest of the round to see if there's any dummy half with a better role, but I don't mind Starling with the young Owen Paddy on the bench. I think Starling could get some good minutes, but probably wouldn't go there. Jeremy Marshall-King, 3% owned, and also waiting in here at 500k. I think both good value. Honestly, if you wanted... This is the thing. Honestly, I've started to... Because I got to be honest, last year, having Reece Robson from the start worked really well. Having a really rock-solid dummy half worked really well for a good chunk of the season. Egan is definitely underpriced, but I mean, I don't like to not pick a guy just because of head knocks and injuries, but I honestly, at this point, Wade Egan, it's getting to that point. He just cannot go through a few rounds without copping a head knock. And the way concussions are now, easily fail a concussion, miss the next week. So I just can't go there. Marshall King, though, 550k. I know he started like a house on fire last year before he copped the injury. It's obviously a little bit tricky. Surprisingly not playing the full 80 in a few of those games, but working into the season, he started very well. The score's great. Honestly, great. Compared to most of the dummy halves, lowest score 42, but there's 70s and 80 there. A 90 against the Storm. Then he missed a bunch of footy. Obviously, got a 16 in there with an injury-affected game. Came back, played 50 minutes for 23 and 62 minutes for 39. So the price is low. It's just, I don't mind, out of all, the top price dummy halves, and the fact he is a super pod. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, the pods. don't get fucking distracted with the other dummy halves. But 3% owned, I don't mind it. If we come to the rest of the round one and Brendan Hands is starting, but you've got a dummy half on the bench. If Corey Pakes is starting, but there's a dummy half on the bench, I mean, there probably will be. If none of the other cheapy guys look any good, I don't hate the idea of spending up for a Marshall King at 3% owned. I actually don't mind that. Is there anyone like Reece Robson? He's only 4%. Who's the most owned? So it's obviously, Sandon Smith 50%, Connor Watson. Everyone at the moment is on Pete Mamazoulis. Even, you know what, Harry Grant. Everybody, well, not everybody, 20%. A lot of people, though, are going Harry Grant. I mean, yes, I get the point of going Grant just for a lock and load. You're hoping never having to trade him out, and you just that's your guy. That's your guy for the whole season. You're not wasting a trade in dummy half. Fuck, you know what? McInnes. Cam McInnes. 7.5%. It's a little bit out of super pod, but again, for dummy halves, this probably is super podish. I didn't realize he still had the hooker duel. That's actually I actually don't mind McInnes. The fact the Sharks named but you got to make the decision on McInnes early because they play in Vegas. I don't mind McInnes. They don't have a 4-forward bench, which they've done pretty much all of last year. They got Daniel Atkinson there. Atkinson, I don't know. Does he... I feel like Atkinson is more there just for injury potential. McInnes, what were the minutes like? There were games he can still play 80. He played 80 and he scored really well when he does. There were games where he played less than 50. 50. They're a bit all over the shop. He's actually jumped out of me. McInnes, 585k. I don't hate that. I don't hate McInnes. But that's the thing though. McInnes, you do, like I said, you have to make the decision early if you're going to spend up. I probably do prefer going McInnes over Grant. I get the Grant situation. It's just the fact that he started really slow. For the price. There's obviously some high scores thrown in there, but is it worth it? I mean, he came good at the end, which definitely bumps up his average, but I don't know. I don't mind McInnes, but because you got to make the decision early. I don't know. Maybe the two cheapy dummy halves. I still like it just for the strength of the other team, but yeah, Marshall King. If no other cheap dummy halves are really tickle my fancy, and I've got some money to spend, I don't mind going up to Marshall King at 3%. I think he's probably the pick of the bunch there. But let's move on. The dummy half is a pretty boring position. So let's have a look. Front row forward, also pretty boring, I will say. But let's have a look-see, shall we? So, Blake Laurie. So this is the guy... that I remembered. So he's out injured, because I remember I was talking about Nrl Gula, and I'm still pretty keen on Gula, but then I remembered Blake Laurie was fucking there, and he'll probably get the start. But man, he was really bad last year. He's always been a guy that's been like a pretty, rock solid performer. Last year was a bit of a shocker. I definitely wouldn't go him, but for my Nrl Gula, I hope that he is gone for a while. Who else have we got in the front row forward? I'm probably going to skip over some for sure, but that's fine, dude. That's fine. No problem. I mean, Taniela Paseka, if he didn't have that AC injury, don't hate it. But 450k, I do think there's some better potential options than going up Paseka as the pod. And this is the point with the pods. Like, I'm not just gonna go. You're not just gonna go someone because they're a pod to start the year. It's not a bad thing to go with a bit of the crowd and stuff. You don't want to go with heaps of pods and get really behind the eight ball if the popular players are going well. Your pod needs to be, like it says, point of difference. It needs to be someone that's going to score better than the other guy that everyone's going. So if it's a guy that's going to score the same, then you might as well just go the guy that's going to score the same, especially in positions like this. Tavita Totola, I was keen on early in the preseason before trials, but obviously he is still battling an injury. So that's a no-go there. Going down the list here. Campbell Gillard. No, absolutely not. Oregon Kafusi. Nah, he's never been relevant. Takiaho he's still a super pod, but just the price. I can't believe he came back so expensive. And I mean, I guess that's the thing, right? If he came back and he was like 300k, then he'd be very heavily owned, I think, just the form he showed in the trials. But yeah, dual front row to our 450 though. Yeah, it's just a little bit too much. Toby Couchman actually super pod potential. I really don't mind Couchman. He impressed in the trials. It looks like he's got the jump. Again, we don't know because, like I said, there's Blake Laurie, there's Molo. I don't know what's happening there. David Clemmer at the club. You would expect Couchman to keep the starting spot. I think he's looked really good. Bit more of a mobile middle forward. He's a dual. 480k though, again, it's just a little bit awkward. He obviously didn't play to start. He came in pretty expensive actually, 350k last year. But he's just got a bit of attack about him. He started playing, I mean, the minutes were a bit all over the shop, bit low, but 38 minutes 67, 35 minutes 50, 48, 52, 42, 47, like pretty okay. I don't know. It's a little bit, the Dragons are going to have so many middles, like not many of them are very good, but they do have a lot that it scares me. It does scare me a little bit. Junior Paulo, I mean, I think probably the days of Paulo are gone. He's looking fit, but he does have an injury concern as well. But it is cheap for a Paulo. Samuel Hughes. Sam Hughes, he showed glimpses. He did show glimpses last year of sort of getting to a decent mid-range point. He got up to 400k, and then the minutes just dropped. Like he started playing like 40 minutes, and then they just dropped off a cliff. Does he get a bigger role his second season? It wouldn't shock me. I don't hate, like, if Nrl Gula doesn't get the role that I'm hoping for, going to Sam Hughes, I actually don't hate it. Like, I probably prefer going like a Sam Hughes at 350 rather than like a Royce Hunt at 250, right? Spending an extra 100k for a guy that I think does have more potential. And at worst, he's not going to lose money. Like, he'll stay that price, and you can nuff him out or downgrade him if he's really not doing anything. So I probably wouldn't go him, but it's interesting. Second year, I don't know. Could it be a little bit more of a breakout for him? Get up to that more 450k? Is that worth it? Maybe not. Maybe not. Fucking Jai Arrow. I don't know what's going on with the Arrow. I don't know. Is he going to start at prop? I don't know. I'm definitely not going there. That is for damn sure. That is for damn sure. For Nrl 1.7%. Now we're getting juicy. I do like Pole. Unfortunately, I just can't do it. I can't. I mean, there's a lot of potential Tiger commodities this year, which is dangerous. But I've already got Terrell May. I've got one starting prop. I think Pole, I think he deserves the other starting front row. But I can't go both front row Tigers. It's just disgusting, honestly. It's not, can't do it. You just can't do it. Going down, Emre Gula. He is 2.7%. A few people have jumped on. Lindsay Smith, my boy. Yeah, I am keen on. It's just the fact that at the moment, it's so hard to pass. Obviously, Terrell May locked. Corey Horsburgh locked. Do you really want to spend extra on your third front row spot and have Corey as your third front rower? Or do you run those two guys and just go cheapies in your third and fourth, even enough, which I was talking about? That's what makes it like, is it worth going as Smith as well as those other two? And that's the biggest problem with the front row. And honestly, I'll probably wrap up the super pods with the front row, because it's so hard to go against Terrell May and Corey Horsburgh. Like, everyone's going them for a reason, and it's just a matter of if you're going to spend more on other guys in the position. I mean, some big names. Payne Haas, 11%, so obviously not that poddish, but out of the big guns, he is definitely more of a pod. Stefano, Mitch Barnett. I'm a little surprised 13% are going Barnett. Like, I think Barnett's going to be rock solid. His minutes, I think, will be pretty huge. Without Fennell Blake, without Tohu Harris there, I think he'll play big minutes. But, I don't know, 660? I would rather go Payne Haas if I'm spending that much money. Fennell Blake, 20%. 20% are going Fennell Blake. I mean, I talked about it in the front row discussion that I think Fennell Blake is still going to be arguably the top scoring front rower. I think it'll be one or two, just because I think there's no shot he doesn't keep scoring tries. He's too fucking hard to handle, and the Sharkies love a barge over. Their front rowers in years gone by love a barge over, so he works perfectly for them. The minutes may decrease slightly, but I don't think they're going to decrease that much. Like, they've got a utility on the bench now. I mean, he's arguably the best prop in the game. Why would you reduce his minutes a lot? Like, it's not going to happen. But 700k, geez, I think for me, it's just spending too much in the front row. Royce Hunt is still 30%. I mean, I don't know. I've really gone off Royce Hunt. I don't have him at the moment. Maybe I go him just for the potential that he scores a couple of tries early and makes some quick cash. But yeah, I don't love it. But yeah, that's the front row. Not much to really talk about. Couple of boring positions. We'll go to the 2RF, where it'll get a little bit more exciting, obviously, with some pods for sure. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of good options in the back row. As we work our way down, who have we got? So Teague Wilton, 550k. He had a bit of a down year, Teague Wilton. How did he go? I feel like he missed a decent amount of footy, right? He was sort of, I feel like he was a bit injury in and out. Was he? Am I misremembering? He missed a few games here and there. They had the bye, but he missed a couple here. Bye there, and then he missed a couple in the back end. He finished strongly. He did finish strongly. I don't know. I mean, he started pretty well. I just don't think I could do it. 550k. Again, I just think there's better options for that price mark. I don't mind him, but I do think, I mean, Bryn Nickera is probably still the go-to, and he's a bit too expensive. Nickera, you're hoping to probably get him a bit cheaper, like last year, if he can stink it up to start the year. Murata Niokore, he does have the starting spot at 400k, but like I said in the team list for that, there's every chance Laban is injured or something, and I wouldn't expect Niokore to play 80 minutes on the edge, so I don't love it. Luciano Leilua, fuck, he looked good in the trials. He looked really, really good in the trials. What were his minutes like last year? He obviously missed a bunch of footy. Minutes were a bit all over the shop. Yeah, I mean, he didn't play 80 minutes much, did he? I don't know what to make of it, but he looked really good. He looked really good with Jaden Sewer in the trials. So, again, it's a bit too risky to go, but I don't mind a Luciano Leilua at 540. I probably prefer Leilua over Teague Wilton for a bit of upside potential. So go down. Who else is jumping out? Honestly, Kai Pearce-Paul. Kai Pearce-Paul is also a guy I was a little tempted with early in the preseason. I'm still slightly tempted, but I think Lucas has definitely wrapped up the spot on the left. Pearce-Paul played on the right, which apparently that's his preferred side anyway, which is maybe a good thing, but you've still got, in the trials, Frizzell didn't play the second trial, Adam Elliott to come back, so when they're full strength, there's every chance Frizzell goes back to the edge to accommodate Adam Elliott at lock, because they've got too many middles, right? I don't know. I can see Pearce-Paul locking down that right-hand edge, and I think he'll be better than last year. I think he's got some upside about him. He definitely does. That it's just a little, yeah, with all the moving parts, couldn't do it, but there's a world where he goes on and has a big year attacking-wise, but I don't know. Too many nights as well. The other big factor there is too many Knights players. Honestly, there's a lot of good Knights players at the moment. The team as it stands, I've got Lucas, Ponga, and I've got Marju at the moment. So I definitely couldn't have four. So no go there. But I don't mind him. Going down the list here, who have we got? What are we at? Still 2%. Tonga, obviously, he will increase drastically if he gets the edge spot, obviously. Bo Fermor, I mean, if you're going to get him, it'll be a centre wing, which I've been tossing up a little bit. I've been like, oh, it'd be nice to have Lucas and Fermor, but nah, it's probably a little overkill. Dave Fafita is at 2%. I mean, obviously the buy is the big factor here. He is starting expensive, but he's the best in the business. People say that he's lazy, which is unreal because he is not lazy. He takes more carries than like 99% of back rowers in the fucking comp. He's an absolute weapon. He came back in, well, not really even that slow. He only played 55 minutes, 57 points. Then he played 80 minutes, 81, 67, 57 minutes, 60. So the minutes would gradually increase. Well, he played 80 there, which is a little strange. I don't know. I don't remember why and then he played less minutes here, but the scores were still really good. And then, yeah, he's playing 80 minutes. Like, I mean, look at the scores. 81, 71, 86, 126, 84, 98, 89, 86, 81. I mean, Jesus Christ, 84. The back end of the year, I guess it went off the boil a little bit. Like, 52, 76, 88, 88. I mean, that's very good. 59, 65, 77, 42, 41. It was a bad end. It was a bad end. I don't know. Did I have him in my team at the end of the season? I don't even remember. But 750, I can't do it. I couldn't bring myself to do it when they had the bye in round 1. I don't know. I know it doesn't make a difference. Like, it doesn't when you really think about it, because every team is going to have a bye, and a lot of, there's a lot of very popular teams that have buys early in the season. Everyone's going to do it. But for some reason, the first bye, it's like having 750k on your bench that's not playing. And then also the fact that it's just because they play the first bye, you can watch them for a couple of weeks and know for sure if they're going to make money or lose money before you have to trade them in. So I guess that's the other big factor with the round 1 bye. But 2%, if you took the big gamble, but I guess that's the thing, you don't have to take the gamble early. Like, if he comes out and goes 100 in round 2 and 3, you can just be like, okay, I'll bring him in before his price rise when everyone else does. So, yeah, I just don't think it's just, there's no real benefit. That's why, like, a lot of people want the player movement prices to happen after 1 week rather than the 3 weeks it is now. That way, it wouldn't matter, and you would be rewarded. A lot of players would be rewarded for going with a feeder early, because if he comes out and goes 100 and the price changes happen straight away, then all of a sudden people would be scrambling to somehow afford him. But that's not the way Supercoach works, so that is fine. Probably just not worth the risk, unfortunately. Jack Williams. Okay, shit. I was actually thinking, why didn't I see him in the front row forward? He didn't get the dual position. That's a bit dog. He definitely should have got dual front row forward 2RF, but okay. I was actually keen on him in front row forward, but obviously now he doesn't even have dual. Yeah, a no-go, unfortunately. Scotty Sorensen. Okay, Sorensen at 480k, 2%. That has tickled my interest a little bit. That has definitely tickled my interest. I mean, he had a bit of a shocker last year, just injury. Like, he just couldn't get himself fit on the park to play much footy. If we look, like, he started, missed round 1, played 62 minutes, 50 minutes, missed a bunch of games, played 80 minutes for 71 points, missed a bunch of games, 33 minutes, then bumped it up to 70 minutes 58, 80 minutes 68, 80 minutes 48, 80 minutes 61. And then, yeah, couple of low ones here. So he's definitely underpriced. It's just with Isaiah Papali'i lurking on the bench as well, there's every chance he comes on and spells him. I couldn't do it, but there is a world where Sorensen could also skyrocket. I think, well, without Luai there as well, Jack Cole, probably less tempting as well. The next guy, actually, Samuela Fainu. I think he's gone under the radar, and the 2% I think suggests that most people are not thinking about him, even though he is going to be on the left side outside of Luai. Now, Luai loves to cut back on the inside, and there's always talk, and it is true, like his outside centre and winger sometimes don't see any footy. He loves to hit the back rower. He loves to turn the back rower underneath. He loves to hit him on the short ball. I think Samuela Fainu is in for a big season. And if people are that keen on Luai, I'm surprised there hasn't been a bit more talk about Samuela. I don't mind it. At the moment, I've got Hosking, but if I got a little bit of cold feet on Hosking, that's an easy sideways trade to Fainu, who I think he's slightly underpriced for what he did last year, even because he he obviously didn't play 80 minutes to start the season. He had some low ones. Like, he played 17 minutes for 12 points. First half of the season, he didn't play 80 minutes. And then he started playing 80. It was a bit all over the shop. He had some low scores, like 39. Well, he only played 58 minutes there. But then he started to hit his straps when a lot of people, like, I brought him in around this time, and he started to be very, very solid. Got a ton here, 86, a 25, a 34. So he had some low ones for sure. The work rate was a bit up and down at times, but man, outside of Luai, I've got to be honest, it's got me a little bit excited for him. But again, I know a lot of people are keen on Alex Seyfarth. I get it, and I guess Seyfarth is... I mean, Seyfarth's only like 60, 70k less than Fainu. I think Seyfarth is probably your more rock-solid option, especially being a bit less priced, but Fainu has got the upside over Seyfarth. So I could be tempted by a cheeky play of Fainu. I don't mind it at all, actually. Going down the list here... So yeah, there's Brendan Nickera, 700k. It's just too much to spend, in my opinion. Jeremiah Nanai, 4.4%. We're starting to get above, so this will probably be one of the last plays we talk about for the Super Pods. But Nanai, he looked good in the trial. Like, he looked a lot busier in the trials. And I mean, I think last year as well, like, his base stats didn't go crazy, but he definitely started to get involved more than he has in previous seasons. I think surely they're trying to drill that into him, that he's a gun. Like, just get your hands on the footy a bit more often. Like, he's not just an aerial specialist. Like, he's a good player. So I don't mind Nanai. I don't mind Nanai at all. It's just the fact that Cowboys have a pretty tricky run to start the season. But he looked good. He looked really good in the trials, I've got to be honest. Yeah, that'll probably wrap up the Super Pods. There is Seyfarth. So yeah, Seyfarth 435k. He's at 7%. Yeah. I mean, Kalamatangi, it looks like... I thought there might be a potential that he would go to lock with Murray being out, but it looks like he's going to keep Kalamatangi on the edge. If game day comes, like team list for the next round happen and Kalamatangi is lock, then all aboard, honestly. He was punching out serious points and numbers at lock last year, but it seems like Bennett, he's got him back on the edge. You've obviously got Tellis Duncan there that can play lock. There's that, I mean, the guy there's all three of them are right here. Lockie Hubner, who's a good young player from Queensland, so he potentially might get the starting lock spot as well. So there's a cheapie potential there at 5%. Obviously, again, if he gets the role, he'll jump up. But Kalamatangi, if he does get the lock role, then all aboard. If he's on the edge, 600k, a little bit too expensive in my opinion. So that wraps up the second row. There's obviously a lot of other options. I mean, let's have a quick look to like 10%. What have we got here? Hosking still, I've got him at the moment. I think I'm gonna take the punt on him. I think I will, just because if the worst case scenario happens and he gets injured again or the role's not quite there, he's 500k. There's a lot of good options. Like I said, a Fainu, you could trade him to a Fainu. You could trade him to a lot of other good players around that price. So I don't mind it. Eli Katoa coming in at a very high price. I love him. I would love to start him, but they've got a buy in round 2. I think you can wait a bit. Hopefully he drops a little bit of cash if the Storm start a little slow. Sia Wong, 7%. Obviously, again, if he starts at lock, then I'm sure his percentage will increase. But yeah, that wraps up the second row options. Let's have a look. We'll do halfbacks and 5/8s together, I think. Might as well. Let's have a quick squiz at what we got here. Cody Nikorima only 5'8" this year. It seems like he's not even going to get the 5'8", which is crazy to me. I would definitely have Nikorima and Ali Katoa in the halves, but we'll see. Obviously, he's had the dual dummy half before, which has been very handy, but not this year. Who else have we got? Obviously, Munn wasn't picked. Fogarty, I mean, a goal-kicking halfback, but no, he's never been about it. Jack Cole was I was keen to see the price of Cole. He's a little bit too expensive, $450K, 5'8". Obviously, job security is not there for Cole either, but he looked good enough when he played last year. He looked good Supercoach wise. Like he had pretty good base stats for a 5'8", like a bunch of tackles. He ran the ball well. So yeah, the price is just no good. Cleary's just going to take full control, so I don't see Cole really being value. Unfortunately, $450K. Cody Walker, without Mitchell, Walker under an injury cloud, probably not even playing round one. You can't go there. Luke Brooks, a popular one from last year. It's so funny because Brooks, and I got caught in the trap as well. I did bring him in. It was actually a pretty good trade when I did it because I downgraded Brown, who was like, for some reason, I don't know, we all started with Brown at like 800,000 last year. Fucking wild. And Brooks did pretty well when I brought him in, or he went fine, but he started 560. He dropped a bit in price. That's funny because he has some big scores, but yeah, just inconsistent for old Brooksy. I think he had a pretty good season overall though. It was solid enough. Will Price doesn't look like he's going to get the role. Ethan Strange, 5'8" only. Yeah. Jaden Campbell. I mean, similar to Fafita, I actually really like Campbell, but again, $700K, I can't do it. I just can't do it. You don't know what the time. I mean, the Titans looked really good in the trial, in the second trial. The first trial, they looked fucking awful. So, I don't know. What are they going to look like in round 2? I just don't know. You get to have a good couple of weeks to look at Campbell. I just wouldn't do it. I mean, Tyron Wishart, seems like Jerome Hughes could be out for potentially a few weeks, but yeah, not worth it. He's a little bit too expensive. Lewis Dodd, I feel like he was definitely more owned. He's obviously suspended round 1. He might not even come back, but yeah, don't love Lewis Dodd. There's not really any 5'8" and halves that are like pod worthy. Brimson is, and he's at a price that's not too crazy. Only 3.5% own Brimmy. Obviously, a live attacking upside potential, injury risk, but he's an absolute gun if he stays on the pitch. He's dual 5'8" and center, which is handy actually. Like you play a little sneaky play with having like Dewey and Brimson in your team, having one in the centers, one at 5'8", and being able to switch them around whenever you needed. That would be pretty nice. It probably wouldn't change that much, but it'd be handy to have. Don't mind him, Brimson. He's probably underpriced. Like, what did he... Obviously missed a bunch of footy again last year. Positional, he was all over the shop. I don't know. I don't remember what positions he played. He had a couple of low scores to start. Jeez, he had a bit of a run though. 64, 56, 67, 94, 104, 69. And then missed a bunch of footy. And then a low 38, low 28, low 5, 28 and 80 minutes, 5 and 11 minutes, 54. So he's definitely underpriced for what he did. Titans have a good draw. Like after the bye, they got the Dogs, Newcastle, Roosters, Dolphins, Dragons, Canberra, Cowboy. Like it's a good draw. They don't play like any real defensive powerhouses early, I would say. I mean, the Dogs, they were very good defensive last year, but yeah, no, I don't mind Brimo. I could be tempted. It's just like, again, it's just tough to fit him in because I obviously have Metcalf and Dewey at the moment. And my centre wing is stacked. I don't know who I would replace with Dewey. That's the biggest. That's the not Dewey, Brimson. But yeah, if you're not sure of a centre winger, or even you want to take a punt on a 5'8", I don't mind. I don't mind Brimson, and he's gonna have the spot now. Kieran. I mean, it looked like it was gonna happen anyway, but Kieran Foran's obviously gone for a bunch of footy with the biceps injury. So Brimson he's got the spot nailed down. If he stays fit, he's definitely underpriced. Anyone else? I mean, Daly Cherry Evans, he might start hot, but I don't know. Without the goal kicking, I just don't like it. Same with Moses. He's not going to have the goal kicking this year, so I don't like it at all. Chanel Harris-Tavita, I've seen a few people talk about him. He is 5% owned now. I don't really understand it. Like, I don't know. I guess just the thing with Supercoach, in the same position, I'm not going to have Metcalf and Harris-Tavita. Like, having both Warriors halves in your 5'8" just seems disgusting. And if I'm picking one or the other, I'm definitely picking Metcalf. So he is at a good price. He has scored well in the past, playing big minutes, but yeah, I don't know. 5%, it seems a little overs to me. Phoenix Crossland. Okay, I definitely miss Crossland in the dummy half spot. I guess he was probably a little 6.5%. I don't mind Crossland at dummy half as well. That's the other thing with like Brendan Hands or one of these guys. Like, I like Crossland. I actually do like Crossland, especially if Frizzell's probably going to be back. I think he was only rested in the trial, but like if Adam Elliott's still out injured, then Crossland's every chance to play dummy half and then go into the middle rotation when Brayley comes on. So 340k, you could definitely do worse. I think if all these guys, like all the dummy halves, like Crossland, Hands, if they all have a dummy half on the bench, I'd probably lean towards Crossland just because he's got good base and he's probably more likely to go and play through the middle rather than, these other guys probably just go off the field. But yeah, it's still a little tricky. Lockie Galvin, 7%. So a few people are jumping on. I was very keen on Galvin. I still am. It's just, again, I'm going to have a couple of Tigers. I don't want to have too many Tigers. I'm still a little pessimistic about how they're going to go. Be interesting to watch. I think Galvin will be great, but I'm going a little cheaper in the 5'8 spot. That pretty much wraps up the pods, the super pods. There's not a whole lot doing. Then you get to sort of the mixed here. I mean, Dewey at 11, Munster at 12, Brown at 16. Hines, I mean, for what Hines does, Hines is at a pretty poddish ownership for Nicholas Hines. 19% for Hines. I mean, at the moment, I don't have him. I do have the young guy, Duffy, which a lot of people are. I think it's not a pod overall, but a pod for Nico Hines at 19%. That is a little juicy. That is a little bit juicy. I'm undecided on Duffy versus Hines. At the moment, the money it frees up and the positions I can upgrade, I love the Duffy play, but man, Hines could kill it after. Because we look at, obviously the first game against Penrith it is a big deterrent, and also playing in Vegas, it's a little bit like it's tricky to go there and then come back for round 2. But they've got a good run. They play obviously Penrith, but then Cowboys, Rabbitohs, Doggies, who I don't know, they could still be good defensively. We'll see. Canberra, Manly, Newcastle, Tigers, Para, Manly. It's a good run coming up for the Sharkies, but I don't know. Again, you could, I don't know. We'll see. At the moment, I don't have him, but I could be tempted. Then we'll look at centre wing, which is also a big position. Let's have a look. Anyone standing out? This is probably centre wing is the biggest position for super pods / pods, because it's just a spot that, there's so many good options that you can zig when other guys zag. Basically, you can go with someone that no one owns. So let's have a look at who stands out, shall we? Jesse Ramian, bit too expensive. I don't mind. I mean, he's always been a very solid Supercoach player, but 635k. I mean, that is. You want to get guys that are potentially like they are definitely season-long keepers, or at least going to make some money. And I don't think I think Ramian's on the cusp of like both of those things, not quite at that level. Brain Burns looks like he's got the wing spot. He was really good last year when he played a few games. That's why he's coming in at 560k, unfortunately. If he was a little bit cheaper, you could take a punt on Braden Burns. But, yeah, because the Cowboys, they look slick. Their wingers should score a bunch of tries. And he's probably going to have the Kyle Felt wing, I would expect, which is obviously a very potent wing. And he's got good base, Braden Burns. But, yeah, a little bit too expensive. Junior Tupou, a watch. He's probably not going to get the spot on the wing, unfortunately, but he's a monster. He's an absolute beast, Junior Tupou. I hope we do see him at the Dolphins at some point on the wing. It's just a little tricky. They got a lot of good outside backs at the moment. So, yeah, I don't know where he fits in, but very, very good player to watch. Going down, I mean, Dane Gagai, he does it year on year. No one ever gets him, but he's always one of the top center wing scorers. He's very good. You just can't go him. I don't think he doesn't have the big ceiling like other guys. And then I just always expect a drop off year, but it just hasn't happened. But yeah, I'm not going to do it again. Matt Timoko. So apparently last year he was carrying an injury like the whole season. I can't remember. It was shoulder, I think. It was something like that. I remember seeing it. I think it was physio or someone else was talking about it, that he had this injury for like the whole season. He has always looked like a guy that he could be a Supercoach keeper in the center wing. He's just such a monster. Like the tackle busting, just hasn't hit the heights yet. Like what a 500k. He started pretty well. He had some big scores, and then yeah, just 26 against the Tigers, 25 against the Storm, 23 against South. Like it seems like he's a guy that shouldn't be going lower than 40. He just shouldn't, but he does. What about 2023? What do you do the year before? Yeah, not that much better. He does have a ceiling on him, but yeah, I couldn't do it. He's always looked like a guy that, man, you want to pick up, but just hasn't quite hit the heights. Who else have we got? Oh, here he is. Here's the man that I think is the super pod of super pods, Tane Torpicki. I talked about it in the team list that I was hoping that he would pick up, and he should have, and he did, the dual center wing fullback. So he was originally just, I'm pretty sure, I was thinking about this before, I'm like, am I misremembering? But I'm pretty sure he was just fullback at the start of the year. I don't think he was dual. But regardless, he's dual center wing fullback. He is now, I think, well, he's been picked on the wing. I think he's cemented that spot. Like, Kossi is no good. I think Tuapiki is a fucking goer. He's so good. I love watching him play. He's on the right wing, replacing Dallin, who was out for a very extended period of time. Try scoring heaven out there for the Warriors in the past. Outside of Ali Liatawa, who a lot of people are very keen on, and in that trial, he showed some great soft hands to just dish it up on a platter for him. And he's 100k cheaper than Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. So at the moment, I replaced Tuivasa-Sheck for Tuapiki. I think Tuapiki, I mean, he's a small body, but he's tough as they come. He's going to get through his base. He loves a carry. He's got the tackle busting. Honestly, he is my my super pod of super pods. 1.4% owned. I think he's just gonna go under the radar just because of Roger on the other side of the field. He's gonna get a lot of the talk, and he also Leotawa also getting a lot of mentions as well. But Tane Tuapiki, and also the other thing, it's a very small thing because we don't want it to happen, and it may not happen. But if there was an injury to a chance. I think Tuapiki is the man to go back to fullback. I think he is probably next in line to go to fullback. Maybe Tuivasa-Sheck. I don't know. Maybe he goes back, but I think Tuapiki would be the guy to go back there. So there's also that little benefit as well if something were to happen. But I love Tuapiki. Honestly, I feel like this could be one of the pickups of the season. Tuapiki. I just love it. I genuinely think it's a great choice over Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. Now, I don't know, maybe in 3 to 6 weeks, it's all gone down left. Tuivasa-Sheck scored like 3 to 4 tries. Tuapiki's caught a cold out on the right-hand edge and scored 1. But I don't know. I think on that right wing, Chance loves playing down there. Metcalf has been very dominant on the right-hand side. I think it's good. And I'm very stoked that he got the duel and that he's 1.4% owned. I was looking at that and I'm like, fair enough. Like I haven't heard anybody really talk about Tuapiki, but I'm keen. I'm very keen. So he's in. Honestly, he's locked. He's locked in. I'm locked in him over Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. You save 100k as well. That's the other big thing. You save 100,000 going to Tuapiki. Tuivasa-Sheck maybe does have a bit more base in him, I would expect, but I don't know. I just see a bit. I do see some upside for Tuapiki, but we'll see. I guess the one thing that it's not going to sway me, but he is a small body. He is prone to a knock or two, but it's not going to sway me. If it happens, it happens. And again, he's 460k. He can easily be traded to another very solid player. I mean, worst case, you could go up to Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for 100k. But yeah, I love the Tuapiki play, honestly. Going down, any other big names? I mean, Sania Taruva. No one's really talked about him. I mean, he's probably just a bit too expensive. Everybody is very keen on Skelton, though. I'm a little surprised no one has really talked about Taruva. Like, I feel like he's gonna, like, this is why I think the Tigers are actually going to be pretty good this year, because their outside backs are gonna be meter eaters. Like I think they're gonna try to replicate a little bit of Penrith about them. Like save the big boy energy for defense, and your outside backs just do a mountain of work. I mean, Taruva and Skelton are going to get through a stack of runs, and I think Taruva is going to have just as good a base as Skelton. I guess Skelton he's 70k cheaper. True. He is 70k cheaper. Is Taruva, he'll be on the wing, wouldn't he? I know there was talk that he might play centre, but I think he'll be the winger, right? It'll be Skelton, Taruva, obviously Dewey, and then I think Toa will be the other centre, because Naden's out and obviously Olam's out as well. So Taruva, the other wing. What wing is he on? Did Skelton play left or right? I honestly can't remember. I think he was... I'm trying to remember. I don't remember. I don't know. I don't think I'm not going to go him again. I don't want to have too many Tigers players, but everyone's going Skelton. I don't mind a little zig on Taruva, honestly. Like, it's sort of a matter of, like, which one of these wingers scores the tries. And it's a bit of a flip of the coin. I think both of them are going to have great base. Taruva, tackle buster as well. I mean, they're very different tackle busters. Skelton running over the top of players. Like Amaju, Taruva, the footwork is going to beat players and tackle bust that way. So, very different, but similar. It's just a matter of which winger scores more tries. That's what it comes down to. So, you could take a punt. If you're going Skelton and you're a little 50-50, I don't hate the Taruva play. 570k? Could do worse. Kale Ero. I'm not going to lie, as like a rock solid player, I've been a little keen on Nrl. Again, he's just a little bit too expensive at 640k. But I don't hate him. Like, he's just he didn't, like, he had like no attack last year, and he just kept punching out like 60 in base. Like, he was just a monster. So I like Nrl. I just think he's just slightly too expensive to justify in the price bracket. But yeah, I was keen, and he is very pottish, which is obviously to be expected at that price range. Going down the list, I mean, both Fermor we talked about in the second row forward. I was keen to load up with Lucas and Fermor, but I think it probably a little overkill. And we do get to watch again. I think Fermor, he started off slowly last year, like a lot of forwards, and then he really came into his own at the back end. So hopefully you lose a bit of cash, and then you can pick him up a bit cheaper. Would be lovely. Going down the list here, obviously Campbell Graham. Yeah, he's gone for a month, so no good there. Tolutau Kola, just he's another one like Timokov that I'm like, how is he not more relevant in this Manly backline? But if he plays fullback, you lock him in. He's an absolute gun. But in centre, for some reason, just doesn't do it. I don't know. He looks good, but just the Supercoach output isn't there. Dom Young, obviously not starting with, but I've talked about it before, that Dom Young is a guy that when he loses like a couple 100k, then you could definitely jump on and hopefully go on a bit of a run. But yeah, definitely not to start. Lehigh Hopewade is interesting. On the wing, it is very tempting. Again, he's a little bit too expensive. Who was I just talking about? Kale Iro. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Lehigh versus Iro, I'd probably go Hopewade just for the Manly draw to start with. Like, on the wing, outside of Turbo, I don't know, what side will he be on? Will it be outside of Cherry Evans? I don't know, but he's such a good player, Hopewade. My God, he is an absolute gem of a player. I talked about it with Tuapiki. I think Hopewade has now... Well, has he? I don't know. I was just going to say he'll probably get the fullback spot if something happened to Tom, but is it him or Kola? I actually don't know who's the front runner, but I don't mind Hopewade. I don't mind him. It's just it's hard to fit in. It is hard to fit in, like going like a guy like a Marju for 80k less with a bit more base. It's hard to go past. Brimson we talked about. Anyone else? I mean, Stafford Toa. Again, his percentage will probably increase if he does get the starting centre spot. But 300k, is he worth it? Probably not with some of the other cheapies available. Sam Stone Street. Also, he's actually more pottish than I thought. I thought he might be a bit more owned. I did see a comment. Someone was pretty keen on Stone Street, and I get it. Like, Katoa has been like a pretty rock solid scorer in the past. Mulatalo. I mean, Mulatalo is like 600 plus. Stone Street, I worry about Stone Street. He doesn't have the best base. Obviously, you're just relying on the tries, which it could happen. He's a try scorer, but I don't know. I prefer like a Marju and like a Tuapiki over Stone Street, but I can't fault it. If you go Stone Street, he is a super pod as well, so I do like it. Isaiah Tass. So everyone's gone off Tass, which is fair enough. Like, the Rabbitohs are depleted, this and that. It looks like, did he goal kick in the trial? I think he might goal kick though, which is a little bit more tempting. I think he goal kicked. It probably, I don't know. They'll need to score tries though. So probably a little bit. If he was cheaper, yes, but yeah, a little bit much. Selwyn Cobbo, going back to the wing. I mean, he looked pretty strong in that trial. Like, there were a couple of those runs, dude. He was running over players. I like Cobbo on the wing. I think it's way better than him in the centres. On the back line, outside of Walsh, Benny Hunt, Reynolds, like there's a sniff there for Cobbo to really go on a run. What is the Broncos draw like? Obviously the Roosters, originally you'd be like the Roosters is very tough to start, but obviously a bit depleted, coming off very bad trial form. I don't know what to expect round one. It's interesting. They played Roosters last year too in round one. But Roosters, Canberra, Cowboys, Dolphins, Tigers, Roosters again, Warriors, Bulldogs, Penrith, Rabbits. It's a pretty good draw. Yeah, it's pretty good. Cobbo, I mean, he's got the upside. He started well last year. 53. No, what am I doing? That's the high score, you idiot. He started okay. 53, 93, 61, 24 against the Cowboys. This is in centre, obviously, so I don't hate Cobbo. I don't mind him. And there is the other guy, Ali Leatawa. 5%, so we're getting a little bit higher up here. Again, that's the thing though, if Leatawa is going to go well, then Tuapiki probably benefits on the back of it. So I like the Tuapiki play. But I like Leatawa as well. If you want to go with someone with probably, I don't know, more base, maybe? I don't know. Tuapiki probably takes more runs, but then Leatawa is going to make more tackles. I don't know. It probably evens itself out. Nick Meaney, 5%. He's going to have the goal kicking again. Probably not, though. 600k. Shibazaki. So, yeah, we're getting a bit high up now in the marks here. Gerald Skelton there. So yeah, Skelton's 500k still. So I mean, I don't mind Taruva, going to Taruva over a Skelton. I don't hate it, honestly. Man, 10% of people have got Val Holmes in their team. That's a little surprising. He looked great. Like, don't get me wrong, I still think Holmes is gonna be he's gonna be one of the top 2 centre wingers to finish the year in terms of average, but 800,000. I just think there's better value to start. Jermaine Asako. 10% of people have a Zarko? Really? I feel like that's a little high as well. I mean, I think he'll be solid. 10% of people still have Ty Munro. Like, without Mitchell, I don't like Munro. Zach Lomax. 12.5% of people have Lomax. That's probably even more egregious than Val Holmes, because he's gone back to centre, which I still think Lomax is going to be very good at centre, but he won't score as many tries. There's no shot he scores as many tries as last year. But yeah, that wraps up the centre wing. So definitely some pods to look out for. My ultimate super pod is fucking Tane Tuapiki, but yeah, and then we'll have a very quick look at fullback. I don't want to be here all night, but I don't think there's going to be too much to really talk about. I mean, Keanu Kinney, a few people were interested in. I couldn't justify it though with the buy in round 1. 6% already have Brian Babenhausen, even though he's gonna probably miss round 1. They'll have to trade him. Yeah, there's not much to really talk about the fullbacks. I mean, Drinkwater, 8%. Probably, I mean, a bit of a pod, I guess. Again, in context, it is a pod when you look at Ponga, Trbojevic, and Isaiah Iongi. But, yeah, not much to talk about there. So that wraps up the pod discussions. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If there was anyone that jumped out at you, put in the comments and let me know. But, yeah, we're counting down now. A couple of days to go. And round 0 kicks off in Vegas. Hopefully you guys are excited. I'm very excited. Make sure to like and comment. I'll see you guys in the next one.